My name is Pearl, and I just turned 64 last month. I spent 35 years teaching elementary school children before retiring. When my husband died suddenly, I raised our son Adam alone, making countless sacrifices to give him the best life possible. Just last month, I spent $15,000 on a family vacation to Hawaii for Adam, his wife Jessica, and my grandchildren. I was so excited to create lasting memories with them all. But when I arrived at the airport with my suitcase and heart full of anticipation, everything changed in an instant. If you have ever felt betrayed by family, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like button as I share how I turned my heartbreak into the greatest lesson my son never expected to learn. Teaching was always my calling. For 35 years, I shaped young minds in a suburban Boston elementary school. The children kept me going after my husband Thomas died unexpectedly from a massive heart attack. Adam was only 10 years old when he lost his father in 1994. One ordinary Tuesday morning, Thomas kissed me goodbye, headed to work, and never came home. Just like that, I became a widow and single mother overnight. Those early years were incredibly difficult. I remember sitting at our kitchen table late at night, bills spread out before me, trying to figure out how to make ends meet on just my teacher salary. The life insurance helped initially, but I knew I needed to be strategic to provide Adam with the opportunities he deserved. I picked up weekend tutoring jobs and summer school positions. My car was 12 years old and making concerning noises, but a new one was out of the question. Our modest 3-bedroom house needed repairs I constantly postponed. While other teachers at my school took exciting summer vacations, I stayed home and worked. Every extra dollar went toward Adam Education Fund. And Adam thrived despite our challenges. He was an intelligent, curious boy who excelled in school. His teachers often commented on his natural leadership abilities and sharp mind. By high school, he was taking advanced placement classes and playing basketball. I never missed a single game sitting in those uncomfortable bleachers cheering until my voice gave out. When the college acceptance letters started arriving, I could barely contain my pride. Adam received a partial scholarship to Northeastern University to study business, but it still left significant expenses. I took out a second mortgage on our home to cover what his scholarship did not. I remember telling him, "Education is the one thing nobody can ever take away from you." Those college years were tight financially, but seeing Adam walk across the graduation stage made every sacrifice worthwhile. He was the first person in our family to earn a college degree. I remember fighting back tears as he received his diploma, thinking Thomas would have been so proud. Adam's first job was with a financial services company in Boston. He still lived at home to save money, and I enjoyed having him around. We would have dinner together most evenings, and he would tell me about his day. Those were good times, comfortable and easy between us. Then he met Jessica at a company function. She came from a wealthy Connecticut family, had attended an Ivy League school, and worked in the marketing department. From the first time Adam brought her home, I sensed a subtle judgment in her eyes as she looked around our modest home. But Adam was clearly smitten, so I welcomed her warmly. Their relationship moved quickly. Within 18 months, they were engaged, and Jessica had definite ideas about their wedding. Her parents paid for most of it, but I contributed what I could, emptying a small savings account to help with the rehearsal dinner. The wedding was elaborate and beautiful, but I felt somewhat out of place among her large extended family with their designer clothes and confident demeanors. After they married, Adam and Jessica moved into a luxury apartment in a trendy part of Boston. I visited occasionally, always bringing home cooked meals or small housewarming gifts. Jessica was polite but distant. I noticed she often checked her watch when I visited, as though counting the minutes until I would leave. When they announced they were expecting their first child, I was overjoyed. Tyler was born the following spring, a beautiful, healthy boy with Adam eyes. I offered to help in any way I could, but Jessica preferred to rely on the night nurse her parents had hired. Still, I treasured the moments I got to hold my grandson and sing him the same lullabies I had once sung to his father. 2 years later, Amanda joined the family. She was a spirited little girl with a contagious laugh. Becoming a grandmother twice over filled a place in my heart I had not realized was empty. I looked forward to being a meaningful presence in my grandchildren's lives. As Adam's career advanced, I noticed gradual changes in his attitude. His calls became less frequent, his visits shorter. He would check his expensive watch or glance at his phone while I was mid-sentence. When I asked about his work, he would give vague answers as though I could not possibly understand the complexities of his financial world. I retired at 62 with a modest pension. After decades of pouring myself into my students, I looked forward to a simple retirement, perhaps traveling a bit, and definitely spending more time with my grandchildren. I had always imagined taking them to museums, baking cookies together, and creating the kinds of memories I treasured from my own childhood. Despite my limited means, I continued to be generous with Adam's family. I contributed to Tyler and Amanda education funds each birthday and Christmas. When Tyler needed braces, I offered $2,000 toward the expense. When Adam mentioned they were considering a kitchen renovation, I sent them a check as a surprise money I had been saving for a new water heater. The invitations to Sunday dinners dwindled. Sometimes, weeks would pass without a phone call. When I did see the children, they seemed to barely know me. Once, little Amanda asked, "Are you really my daddy, Mommy?" It broke my heart to realize how little time they had spent with me. Jessica's subtle disrespect became more apparent. She would correct my outdated terminology or roll her eyes when I shared stories about my teaching days. Once I overheard her telling Amanda, "Grandma is from a different time, sweetheart. Things are different now." The dismissive tone stung deeply. Adam never defended me. In fact, he often seemed embarrassed by my simple tastes and modest lifestyle. The gap between us widened, but I told myself it was natural for children to build their own lives. I comforted myself with memories of Adam as a boy holding my hand as we crossed the street. His small face looking up at me with complete trust and adoration. Everything changed last January when I had a minor stroke. I was alone at home when suddenly my vision blurred and my right arm went numb. Fortunately, I recognized the symptoms and called 911 immediately. After 3 days in the hospital and a battery of tests, my doctors assured me the damage was minimal. With medication and lifestyle changes, I could expect a full recovery, but the experience shook me deeply. Lying in that hospital bed, I had a lot of time to think. What if it had been more serious? What memories had I created? What legacy would I leave? I realized I had spent my entire life putting everyone else first, saving for someday, but never actually living today. Adam visited me just once in the hospital, staying only 15 minutes. He explained he had an important meeting he could not reschedule. Jessica did not come at all, claiming the children might be frightened by the hospital environment. During my recovery at home, my former colleague Diane brought meals and checked on me daily. My neighbor Frank shoveled snow from my driveway without being asked. But my own son called only twice to check on my progress. This health scare was my wake-up call. Life was short and unpredictable. I decided to use a significant portion of my savings, nearly $15,000, to fund a family vacation. I wanted to create lasting memories with my grandchildren before they grew up completely or before my health potentially declined further. When I called Adam with my offer, he seemed genuinely enthusiastic. "Mom, that is incredibly generous," he said. "The kids would love Hawaii. Jessica and I have been talking about taking them, but with the private school tuition and the country club membership, it has been hard to justify the expense." I began planning immediately, researching family-friendly resorts on Maui. For 6 months, I immersed myself in Hawaii travel books and online reviews. I made lists of age-appropriate activities for Tyler and Amanda, researched the best snorkeling spots for beginners, and even started learning basic Hawaiian phrases to share with the children. The anticipation brought me such joy. I purchased new summer clothes, a wide-brimmed hat to protect my face from the sun, and comfortable walking sandals. I bought a new digital camera to capture every precious moment. In the evenings, I would sit in my living room, imagining us all playing on the beach, building sandcastles with my grandchildren, and watching glorious Hawaiian sunsets together. I shopped for special gifts for everyone. For Tyler, I found a junior snorkeling set with an underwater camera. For Amanda, a beautiful Hawaiian dress and a dolphin necklace. I even bought Adam and Jessica matching Hawaiian shirts, hoping they might wear them for a family photo on the beach. As the trip grew closer, I noticed Adam's communication becoming increasingly vague. When I asked specific questions about our accommodations or flight details, he would say, "Jessica is handling all of that, Mom. Do not worry about it." Jessica took over the planning without including me. When I emailed her suggesting activities the children might enjoy, her responses were brief and dismissive. "We already have a full itinerary planned, Pearl. The kids will be busy every day." A nagging anxiety began to grow, but I dismissed it as overthinking. Surely they would not exclude me after I had offered to pay for the entire vacation. I focused instead on the positives. How wonderful it would be to spend uninterrupted time with Tyler and Amanda, to see their faces light up at their first glimpse of the ocean, to create the kind of family memories I had always dreamed of. 3 weeks before departure, Adam called to inform me that they had changed our accommodations. "Jessica found a more exclusive resort," he explained. "It is a bit farther from the main tourist areas, but the amenities are better." "That sounds lovely," I replied, though I felt a twinge of disappointment that I had not been consulted. "Will we all be staying together?" "Well," Adam hesitated. "They had a special on 2 separate bungalows. We thought you might appreciate your own space." This did not make sense to me. The entire purpose of the trip was to spend time together as a family. But I did not want to seem difficult, so I agreed. 1 week before our scheduled departure, we had a family dinner at their house. The tension was palpable. Jessica barely spoke to me, focused instead on showing me photos of the resort on her tablet. "The adults-only pool is spectacular," she commented, swiping to another image. "And there is a wonderful spa where I have booked several treatments." "I was thinking we might take the children to the Maui Ocean Center," I suggested. "I read it has wonderful exhibits about marine life." Jessica smiled tightly. "We already have tickets for a private boat tour that day." Tyler, always perceptive despite being only 8, looked up from his dinner. "Grandma Mom said you might not like the activities we planned. She said they might be too tiring for someone your age." Jessica shot him a warning glance. "Tyler, focus on your dinner." I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. Were they already planning to exclude me from activities? I pushed the thought away, telling myself I was being paranoid. This was going to be a wonderful family vacation. I just needed to be flexible and appreciative of the opportunity to spend time with my family. That night, as Adam walked me to my car, I asked directly, "Is everything all right with the trip plans? I feel like there is something you are not telling me." He patted my shoulder awkwardly. "Everything is fine, Mom. We are all looking forward to it." But he could not quite meet my eyes, and I drove home with a growing sense of unease. The morning of our departure, I woke at 5 a.m., too excited to sleep any longer. I had packed and repacked my suitcase several times in the previous days, making sure I had everything I needed without overpacking. I took extra care with my appearance that morning, applying light makeup and styling my hair. I wanted to look my best for the vacation photos. My neighbor Greta had agreed to drive me to the airport. "You seem nervous," she observed as we loaded my luggage into her car. "Just excited?" I assured her, though the knot in my stomach had grown tighter. This is my first real vacation in years. We arrived at Boston Logan International Airport 3 hours before the scheduled departure, just as Adam had instructed. I checked my suitcase at the counter, receiving my boarding pass with a surge of excitement. This was really happening. After years of putting everyone else first, I was finally going to enjoy a dream vacation with my beloved family. I made my way to the designated meeting spot near our gate. Adam had been very specific about where we should meet by the large sculpture in Terminal B. I settled into a seat with a clear view of the area, watching families hustle by with their luggage and travel pillows. A young mother walked past with 2 small children, reminding me of when Adam was little and how I had dreamed of taking him on adventures like this. As the minutes ticked by, I checked my phone repeatedly. No messages. I sent a quick text to Adam. "I am at our meeting spot. Let me know when you arrive at the airport." Half an hour passed, then an hour. Our boarding time was approaching, and still no sign of my son and his family. I called Adam's phone. No answer. A flutter of panic rose in my chest. Had I misunderstood the meeting location? Was I in the wrong terminal? I double-checked my ticket and the information Adam had sent me. No, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Finally, my phone rang. Adam's name appeared on the screen, and I answered with relief. "Adam, where are you? They will start boarding soon." There was a pause, and when he spoke, his voice was cool and distant. "Mom, there has been a change of plans." "What do you mean, are you running late? I can meet you at the gate." "No, Mom. What I mean is, you are not coming with us." I felt as though the floor had dropped away beneath me. "I do not understand." "Look, we have been talking about it and we think it is for the best. This is going to be a very active vacation with lots of hiking and water sports. Given your recent health issues, we are concerned it would be too strenuous for you." I was speechless. People walked past me laughing and talking, completely unaware that my world was crumbling around me. Then in the background, I heard Jessica's voice, not quite whispered, clearly intended for me to hear. "We will finally have a vacation without this old woman. Tell her already." My heart seemed to stop. Old woman? Is that how they saw me? Is that how my own son saw me? "Adam," I managed to say, my voice surprisingly steady. "I paid for this entire vacation, $15,000 from my savings. And we appreciate that, Mom. Really, we do. Think of it as your gift to us. You are always saying you want us to enjoy quality family time." "But I am family too, Adam." He sighed, the same impatient sigh I had heard when he was a teenager, and I asked too many questions about his plans. "Mom, please do not make this difficult. The kids are excited, and Jessica has planned everything perfectly. We will bring you back a souvenir, okay?" In that moment, standing alone in the busy airport terminal, I felt invisible. Decades of love, sacrifice, and devotion reduced to an inconvenience, a problem to be managed. The pain was physical, like a fist squeezing my heart. "I see," was all I could say. "Great, I knew you would understand. We have to go now, they are calling our row. We will call you when we land." The line went dead. I stood frozen, clutching my phone, watching families board the plane that was supposed to carry me to a dream vacation with my loved ones. Through the large windows, I could see the aircraft's sunlight glinting off its wings. Inside, my son and his family would be settling into their seats, relieved that they had successfully left me behind. I did not cry, not there in the public terminal with curious eyes that might glance my way. With as much dignity as I could muster, I collected my carry-on bag and walked to the customer service desk to arrange for my checked luggage to be returned. "Change of plans," I told the sympathetic agent. "I will not be traveling today after all." "I am sorry to hear that, ma'am," she said, typing into her computer. "Will you be rebooking for another date?" "No," I replied quietly. "I do not think I will." The cab ride home was the longest 30 minutes of my life. I stared out the window at the familiar streets of Boston, seeing nothing. The driver attempted conversation, but eventually fell silent, perhaps sensing my distress. As we pulled up to my modest house, the place where I had raised Adam, where every corner held memories of our life together, I felt a strange sense of unreality. How could I return to this house alone when I should have been on my way to Hawaii? How could my son, the little boy I had poured my whole heart into raising, have treated me with such callous disregard? I paid the driver and dragged my returned suitcase up the front walk. Inside, the house felt eerily quiet. On my refrigerator hung the Hawaii calendar I had been using to count down the days until our departure. Childlike excitement replaced by hollow betrayal. As I unpacked the tropical clothes I had so carefully selected, I imagined Adam, Jessica, and my grandchildren arriving in Maui, stepping into the warm Hawaiian sunshine, beginning their vacation without a second thought for the mother and grandmother they had left behind. I collapsed onto my sofa and finally allowed the tears to come. They flowed without restraint, years of bottled hurt and disappointment finding release. I cried for the young widow who had sacrificed everything for her son. I cried for the grandmother kept at arm's length from her grandchildren. Most of all, I cried for the betrayal that cut deeper than any physical wound ever could. That first night alone, when I should have been watching a Hawaiian sunset with my family, I instead sat in my darkened living room, surrounded by old photo albums. Pictures of Adam as a baby cradled in my arms. Adam on his first day of kindergarten, backpack almost bigger than he was. Adam at his high school graduation, arms around my shoulders, both of us beaming with pride and hope for the future. Where had that loving boy gone? When had he transformed into the cold, dismissive man who could abandon his mother at an airport without remorse? Sleep eluded me that night. I kept replaying every sacrifice, every moment I had put Adam's needs before my own. The second job I took to pay for his baseball camp. The vacation I canceled when he had mononucleosis his sophomore year. The countless nights I had spent helping with homework, attending parent-teacher conferences, cheering at sports events. The loans I was still paying off from his college years. But as dawn broke, something shifted inside me. The crushing pain began to harden into something else, something with edges and purpose. I realized with sudden clarity that my own enabling had contributed to this situation. I had given and given without expectation of gratitude or reciprocity. I had accepted the gradual erosion of respect as though I deserved no better. I had allowed myself to become a doormat, and people had predictably wiped their feet on me. No more. It was time to take action. I called my friend Susan, who had retired from teaching the same year I had. She now worked part-time for a real estate agency. "Pearl, I am so sorry," she said after I recounted what had happened. "That is beyond hurtful. What can I do to help?" "I need information," I told her, "about the current value of my home and what the market is like for smaller properties." "Are you thinking of downsizing?" she asked, surprise evident in her voice. "I am thinking of making some significant changes," I replied. Susan came over that afternoon with market analyses and listings for condominiums in the area. As we sat at my kitchen table reviewing the paperwork, she asked gently, "Does Adam know you are considering selling the family home?" I gave her a small, determined smile. "Adam is currently enjoying the Hawaiian vacation I paid for. He has other things on his mind." The following day, I met with Richard, an attorney who had been recommended by another retired teacher. I explained my situation and asked about my legal options regarding my home and assets. "The house is solely in your name," he confirmed, making notes. "Yes, after Thomas died, everything transferred to me." "And you have been making all the mortgage payments, tax payments, and covering maintenance costs?" "Every penny," I assured him. Richard nodded thoughtfully. "Then legally, you have every right to make whatever decisions you wish regarding the property. Has your son contributed financially in any way?" "Quite the opposite," I said, feeling a fresh wave of hurt. "I have continued to support him and his family despite my limited retirement income." As our meeting concluded, Richard looked at me with kind eyes. "Mrs. Jennings, may I speak frankly?" I nodded. In my practice, I see many parents in similar situations. Adult children who take advantage, who expect inheritance without showing appreciation for the sacrifices that built that inheritance. You have legal and moral right to protect yourself and your assets. His words strengthened my resolve. Over the next few days, I began uncovering more troubling information. My neighbor Martha mentioned that Adam had told her at the block party last summer that he was keeping an eye on my finances since I was getting older and more forgetful. I had never given him authority to monitor my accounts, nor had I experienced any cognitive decline. When I checked my recent bank statements more carefully, I discovered small, unexplained withdrawals, $100 or $200 at a time, that coincided with Adam's occasional visits to help me with my banking. The amounts were small enough that I had not noticed them individually, but they added up to nearly $2,000 over the past year. I found a notebook and began making an inventory of everything I had given to Adam and Jessica over the years. The partial college tuition, the down payment assistance for their first apartment, the loans that had somehow transformed into gifts, the checks for the grandchildren, extracurricular activities, and private school expenses. As the list grew longer, I remembered other moments that should have been warning signs. Jessica calling at the last minute, asking me to babysit, then making me feel guilty when I already had plans. Adam subtly questioning my spending choices while never acknowledging how much I continued to contribute to his family. The way they had redecorated the guest room in their home, removing the bed, and installing a home gym, effectively eliminating any possibility of me staying overnight. With each revelation, my determination grew stronger. I was not just hurt. I was angry, and that anger fueled a plan that began to take shape with crystal clarity. I called a locksmith and arranged to have all the locks changed on my house. I contacted a moving company to pack specific items that I knew Adam and Jessica had always admired, things they likely assumed they would inherit, and placed them in temporary storage. A visit to my financial advisor resulted in changes to my will and the establishment of education trusts for Tyler and Amanda that would be managed by a third-party trustee, not their parents. Finally, I prepared a special package for their return. Into a large decorative box, I placed carefully selected items, photos documenting my life as a single mother. The sacrifices made the achievements celebrated. Financial records showing exactly what I had contributed to their lives over the years, including the recent vacation payment. A detailed accounting of the unauthorized withdrawals from my account. A small velvet box containing what would be new house keys, but only if certain conditions were met. And most importantly, a letter that had taken me days to write explaining exactly why things needed to change. I sealed the package with care, addressed it in my neat teacher handwriting, and set it aside for the day of their return. While waiting for my family to return from the vacation I had paid for, I discovered something unexpected: freedom. For decades, I had defined myself primarily as Adam mother, and more recently as Tyler and Amanda grandmother. My identity had been wrapped up in what I could do for others, how I could support and nurture them, often at the expense of my own needs and interests. Now faced with the painful reality that those sacrifices had not been truly valued, I found myself wondering, who is Pearl Jennings when she is not sacrificing for others? What brings her joy? What dreams did she set aside? My first step was joining a support group for people dealing with family estrangement and elder emotional abuse. The stories I heard from others helped me understand that my situation was not unique. Many adult children, particularly those who had been consistently enabled, developed a sense of entitlement that eroded basic respect and gratitude. In that group, I met Eleanor, a 70-year-old grandmother whose daughter had similarly taken advantage of her generosity for years. Eleanor had recently established firm boundaries and was rebuilding her life with newfound confidence. She became my guide and friend in this journey. The hardest part, Eleanor told me during one of our coffee meetings, is letting go of who you thought they were and accepting who they actually are. You have to grieve the relationship you wanted before you can build the relationship that is possible. Those words resonated deeply with me. I had been clinging to an image of Adam that no longer matched reality. The sweet boy who had once made me Mother Day cards with wobbly handwriting had grown into a man capable of abandoning me at an airport. I needed to see him clearly to move forward. With Eleanor's encouragement, I began exploring interests I had never had time for during my working years and single motherhood. I signed up for a watercolor painting class at the community center. My first attempts were terrible, but I found unexpected joy in the process, in the quiet focus required to blend colors and capture light. I also decided to volunteer at a youth center in a disadvantaged neighborhood. Twice a week, I helped children with their homework and reading skills. Their genuine appreciation for my time and knowledge was balm for my wounded spirit. One little girl, Zoe, reminded me of why I had loved teaching, her eyes lighting up when she mastered a difficult concept. "Miss Pearl," she said one afternoon, "you are the best teacher ever. You never make me feel stupid when I do not understand." Those simple words meant more to me than all the expensive gifts Adam and Jessica had ever given me. As weeks passed, I found myself standing taller, speaking more confidently. I scheduled an appointment at a salon and emerged with a stylish new haircut that framed my face beautifully, making me look years younger. The hairdresser convinced me to try clothes in colors I had always avoided, and I was surprised to find that turquoise and coral suited my complexion far better than the neutral tones that had dominated my wardrobe. Eleanor and 2 other friends from our support group suggested a weekend trip to Cape Cod. I initially hesitated, unused to spending money on myself, but eventually agreed. Those 3 days of ocean breezes, long walks on the beach, and evenings spent sharing stories over wine were more rejuvenating than any vacation I could remember. I also reconnected with former colleagues and even some past students, now adults with children of their own. Their warmth and genuine interest in my life contrasted sharply with the dismissive treatment I had received from Adam and Jessica. It was a powerful reminder that family is not always defined by blood, but by respect and care. Perhaps the most profound change came through my therapy sessions with Dr. Levine. She helped me identify patterns of enabling behavior and people-pleasing that had contributed to my current situation. "Pearl," she said during one particularly insightful session, "you have spent a lifetime believing that love means complete self-sacrifice, but real love requires boundaries. Without them, respect erodes, and without respect, what looks like love is actually something much less healthy." I began keeping a daily journal documenting not only my emotional journey, but also practical steps toward independence and self-respect. Each small victory, from learning to enjoy a meal alone at a restaurant to standing firm when a friend tried to take advantage of my time, was carefully recorded. "Today, I said no without explaining or apologizing." One entry read, "The world did not end. In fact, I was respected for valuing my own time." One of the most challenging aspects of this transformation was preparing myself emotionally for the inevitable confrontation when Adam and his family returned. I rehearsed what I would say, practiced maintaining calm in the face of what would likely be anger and accusations. Dr. Levine helped me develop strategies for staying grounded and clear about my boundaries. "Remember," she advised, "you are not punishing them. You are establishing healthy parameters for your relationship moving forward. Whether they choose to respect those parameters is their decision, not your responsibility." By the time I received notification that my family flight from Hawaii was scheduled to land, I was a different woman than the one they had abandoned at the airport. I was still their mother and grandmother, still capable of profound love, but that love would no longer come at the expense of my dignity and self-respect. As I placed the carefully prepared package on my front porch, I felt not vindictive pleasure, but a calm certainty that this was necessary, not just for me, but ultimately for all of us. True family connections could only thrive in the soil of mutual respect. The family return flight was scheduled to land at 2:30 in the afternoon. According to the original itinerary I had received before everything changed, they would likely arrive at the house around 4, depending on traffic from the airport. I had arranged to watch from my neighbor Ruth's house across the street. Not out of cowardice, but because I wanted their unfiltered reaction to what they would find. As 4 o'clock approached, I positioned myself discreetly by Ruth's front window. She had been horrified by my story and fully supported my actions. If my son ever treated me that way, she had declared, he would find himself written out of my will faster than he could say inheritance. At 4:17, Adam's sleek black SUV turned onto our street. From my vantage point, I could see all 4 of them tanned from their Hawaiian vacation, laughing about something as they approached the house. Tyler was wearing a colorful Hawaiian shirt, and Amanda clutched what appeared to be a stuffed dolphin toy. They looked happy, relaxed, and completely unburdened by guilt over what they had done. Adam parked in the driveway and began unloading suitcases while Jessica herded the children toward the front door. I had always kept a spare key for them, which Adam now attempted to use in the new lock. Even from across the street, I could see his confusion as the key failed to work. He tried again, jiggling the handle with increasing frustration. Jessica said something to him, her body language impatient. Adam tried once more before pulling out his phone, presumably to call me. I had turned my phone to silent mode, letting his call go to voicemail. He left what I imagined was an annoyed message, then tried the key again. Jessica was now clearly agitated, gesturing toward the children and the luggage still sitting in the driveway. Adam walked around to the back door. A few minutes later, he returned, shaking his head. Jessica's expression had transformed from annoyance to anger. She began pounding on the front door loud enough that I could hear her muffled shouts from my position across the street. The children looked confused and uncomfortable. Tyler sat down on the front step, chin in his hands, while Amanda clung to her mother leg, the excitement of their return home now thoroughly dampened. After about 15 minutes of futile attempts to enter and increasingly agitated phone calls, Adam finally noticed the package on the doorstep. He picked it up, examining the label with a furrowed brow. Jessica grabbed it from him impatiently and tore open the outer wrapping. Together, they opened the decorative box. I could not see their expressions clearly as they examined the contents, but their body language told the story. Adam's shoulders slumped as he flipped through what I knew were the financial records and photographs. Jessica's gesticulation became more animated, clearly upset by what she was reading. The small velvet box containing what would be their new house keys seemed to particularly confuse them. Adam opened my letter and began reading, occasionally showing parts to Jessica, whose face flushed visibly even from a distance. Adam pulled out his phone again, this time sending a text rather than calling. My phone buzzed with his message. "Mom, what is going on? Why have you changed the locks? We need to get inside." I replied simply, "Read the entire letter, Adam. Then we can talk." For the next 20 minutes, they remained on the porch, Adam reading through all the documents while Jessica paced, and the children grew increasingly restless. Finally, Adam texted again. "We need to talk. The kids are tired." "Take them home," I replied. "We can meet tomorrow at the coffee shop on Main Street at 10 a.m. "This is their home," Jessica texted from Adam's phone. "You cannot just lock us out." "This is my home," I corrected. "Your home is the 4-bedroom Colonial in Brookline. Take the children there now. They look exhausted." Adam, apparent shock that I could see them, confirmed he had not noticed Ruth's car in the driveway, indicating someone was home. He scanned the neighboring houses but could not determine my location. Eventually, after what appeared to be a heated discussion between Adam and Jessica, they loaded the disappointed children and their luggage back into the SUV and drove away. As they turned the corner, I exhaled, deeply trembling with the emotional weight of what had just transpired, but proud that I had held firm. The following morning, I arrived at the coffee shop 20 minutes early, selecting a table in the back corner where we could speak privately, but still in a public enough setting to discourage any extreme emotional outbursts. I ordered a cappuccino and waited, reviewing mentally the points I wanted to make. Adam arrived alone at precisely 10 o'clock. He looked tired and tense as he slid into the seat across from me. "Mom," he began immediately, "what you did yesterday was completely inappropriate. The kids were exhausted from the flight. They did not understand why they could not go into Grandma house." I took a calm sip of my cappuccino. "Did you read everything in the package, Adam?" "Yes, but none of that justifies changing the locks and leaving your own family standing on the doorstep." "My family," I repeated quietly. "Is that what we still are? Because families do not abandon each other at airports after accepting $15,000 for a vacation. Families do not whisper cruel comments about old women. Families do not make unauthorized withdrawals from each other's bank accounts." His face flushed. "Those were not unauthorized. You said I could help with your banking." "Help Adam, not help myself. I have the withdrawal records and dates. Each one coincides with a visit from you." He shifted uncomfortably. "I was going to pay it back. Things have been tight with the private school tuition and Jessica Country Club membership." "Things have been tight for me my entire life," I replied evenly. "I raised you alone on a teacher salary. I put you through college. I have continued to support you and your family despite living on a fixed income. And how have you repaid that lifetime of sacrifice? By treating me as an inconvenience, an embarrassment, someone to be tolerated rather than respected." "That is not fair," he protested, but his eyes could not meet mine. "Isn't it? Tell me, why did you really leave me behind on that vacation? Adam, was it truly concern for my health, or was it because Jessica did not want me there?" His silence was answer enough. "I have spent decades putting everyone else's needs before my own," I continued. "I have accepted increasingly disrespectful treatment because I told myself that is what mothers do. We love unconditionally. But I have realized that unconditional love does not mean accepting mistreatment. It does not mean allowing myself to be used." Adam opened his mouth to object, but I held up my hand. "Let me finish. I am not angry anymore, Adam. I am sad that our relationship has deteriorated to this point, but I am also clear-eyed about the changes that need to happen." The letter outlined my conditions for moving forward. "If you and Jessica want access to my home again, if you want me to continue being part of your lives and the children's lives, those conditions are non-negotiable." "Jessica says you are trying to control us with money," he said defensively. "She says this is emotional blackmail." "Is that what she calls it when someone stops allowing themselves to be taken advantage of?" "I am not controlling you, Adam. I am establishing boundaries for how I will allow myself to be treated. You and Jessica are free to make your choices, and I am free to make mine." Our conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Tyler and Amanda with Jessica. Apparently, they had been waiting nearby and Jessica had decided to intervene. The children ran to me with genuine enthusiasm, Tyler showing me his Hawaiian souvenirs and Amanda climbing onto my lap with her new stuffed dolphin. "Grandma, we missed you," Tyler exclaimed. "Mom said you were sick and that is why you could not come to Hawaii. Are you better now?" The innocent question hung in the air, Jessica's face reddening as I looked from the children to their parents. "I was not sick, Tyler," I said gently. "There was a misunderstanding about the vacation plans," Jessica interjected sharply. "Pearl, we do not need to confuse the children with adult problems." "I agree," I replied calmly. "Children should be protected from adult issues. They should also be taught honesty and respect." Jessica grabbed the children's hands. We should go. Adam, are you coming? Adam looked torn, glancing between his wife and me. Before you go, I said, addressing all of them, I want you to know that I love you, all of you. That has never changed and never will. What needs to change is how we treat each other. Tyler, perceptive as always, asked innocently, Did we hurt your feelings, Grandma? The simple question cut through all the adult tension and justifications. In that moment, Adam's face changed, a flash of recognition crossing his features, as though he was truly seeing the situation clearly for the first time. Yes, sweetheart, I answered honestly. My feelings were hurt, but we can all do better moving forward. Jessica pulled the children away, murmuring something about being late for an appointment. As they left, Adam remained seated, looking troubled. She is not going to agree to your conditions, he said finally. She says you are being unreasonable. And what do you think, Adam? He was silent for a long moment. I think, he said slowly, that I have not been the son you deserved. It was the first glimmer of genuine recognition, and though it was only a small step, it gave me hope that healing might eventually be possible. The weeks following our coffee shop confrontation were difficult. Jessica refused to speak to me directly, communicating only through Adam when absolutely necessary. She portrayed me as manipulative and controlling to anyone who would listen, including some mutual acquaintances from their church. Adam, however, seemed to be slowly awakening to the reality of how he had been treating me. Our initial conversations were awkward and sometimes defensive, but gradually became more honest. 3 weeks after their return, he came to meet me alone at a local park. I read through everything you put in that package, he admitted as we walked along the pond. The records of all you have given us over the years, the unauthorized withdrawals I made, the calendar where you marked off the days until the vacation. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. I did not realize how much I had taken you for granted. It is easy to take for granted what has always been freely given, I replied. I bear some responsibility too, Adam. I never established healthy boundaries. I wanted so badly for you to be happy that I enabled behavior that ultimately damaged our relationship. Repairing our fractured family connections would not happen overnight. I maintained my firm boundaries, including keeping the locks changed on my house. I informed Adam that I was considering selling the family home and downsizing to a condominium closer to the city center. But this is our family home, he protested. Where will we have holiday gatherings? Where will the kids stay when they visit you? The same place I stay when I visit you, I replied. In a hotel nearby. Or perhaps you could consider having an actual guest room in your home again, rather than a home gym that sent a very clear message about my welcome in your house. It was a painful truth, but one that needed to be spoken. The absence of a place for me in their home had communicated volumes about my standing in their lives. With my attorney help, I established education trust funds for Tyler and Amanda using a portion of what would be proceeds from my house sale. These trusts would be managed by a professional trustee, not their parents, and would become available when the children reached college age, provided they maintained certain academic standards. You don't trust us with the money? Adam asked, hurt evident in his voice. I am ensuring the money goes exactly where it is intended to go, I explained. To the children's education, which has always been my priority, just as it was with your education, Adam. I also decided to donate a portion of the proceeds to establish a scholarship fund for children of single parents at the elementary school where I had taught for so many years. This felt like a meaningful way to honor Thomas' memory and the struggles we had faced after his death. Adam's initial resentment about these decisions gradually gave way to understanding as he began to recognize the patterns that had developed in our relationship. During one particularly honest conversation, he admitted that Jessica had never liked me. She comes from a different background, he explained weakly. Her family has always had money, and she found your more modest lifestyle embarrassing sometimes. My modest lifestyle paid for your college education, I reminded him gently. It funded the down payment on your first apartment. It contributed to your children's private school tuition. There is no shame in living within one's means, Adam. As the weeks passed, Adam made increasingly sincere efforts to repair our relationship. He began calling me regularly, not just when he needed something. He would stop by for brief visits, sometimes bringing coffee and genuinely asking about my day, my interests, my feelings. Jessica remained distant, but ceased her active campaign against me when she realized Adam was no longer willing to participate in it. She would send polite but impersonal birthday and holiday cards, which was an improvement over the previous tension. My relationship with my grandchildren developed in new and meaningful ways. I established regular one-on-one outings with each of them. Tyler and I would visit the Science Museum on the first Saturday of each month, exploring exhibits and discussing his growing interest in astronomy. Amanda and I had special tea parties where I would teach her to bake the same cookies I had once made with Adam. These individual relationships flourished outside the shadow of Jessica's disapproval, allowing the children to know me as a person, not just an obligation or an inconvenience. 3 months after the Hawaii incident, I sold my house and purchased a lovely 2-bedroom condominium in a building with a doorman and security system. Adam helped with the move, spending several weekends packing boxes and transporting smaller items that I did not want to entrust to the moving company. During this process, we unearthed photographs and mementos that sparked conversations about the past opportunities for Adam to see more clearly the sacrifices that had been made for him and the love that had always surrounded him. I found your college acceptance letter, I told him one afternoon, holding up the faded envelope. I remember how proud I was when this arrived. I took it to school and showed all the other teachers. Adam took the letter, reading his own excited 18-year-old words with a newfound perspective. You took out a second mortgage to help pay for this, he said quietly. I never really understood what that meant until now. 6 months after the confrontation, we had our first genuine family gathering. Adam insisted on hosting a birthday dinner for me at a nice restaurant with all of them present, including Jessica. It was somewhat awkward, but marked significant progress from where we had been. Jessica made a visible effort to be cordial, though it clearly did not come naturally to her. Your new haircut looks nice, Pearl, she offered stiffly at one point. It was not warm, but it was better than outright hostility. The most profound moment came when Adam offered a toast. To my mother, he said, raising his glass, who taught me the true meaning of family through her lifetime of sacrifice and then had to teach me again when I forgot. I am sorry it took so long for me to remember. Jessica's expression tightened, but she raised her glass along with everyone else. The children, oblivious to the complex adult emotions swirling around them, cheerfully clinked their water glasses against mine. As I looked around that table, I realized that forgiveness was not the same as forgetting. I could forgive the hurt they had caused me without allowing myself to be vulnerable to the same mistreatment again. I could love my son while still holding him accountable for his actions. I could be a grandmother to Tyler and Amanda without sacrificing my dignity or self-respect. The transformation in our family dynamic was still a work in progress, but the foundation had shifted from enabling to respect, from expectation to appreciation. It was not perfect, but it was honest, and in that honesty lay the possibility of genuine healing. Looking back now, almost a year after that terrible day at the airport, I can see how that painful experience ultimately led to profound growth for all of us. The journey has not been easy, but it has been necessary and ultimately healing. In the beginning, the hurt was so raw that I could barely function. Each memory of Adam's childhood, each sacrifice, felt like salt in an open wound. How could my own son, the child I had poured my heart and soul into raising, treat me with such callous disregard? The early days of my recovery were focused simply on survival, on getting through each day without collapsing under the weight of betrayal. I would wake up, make myself a cup of tea, and tell myself, "Just get through today, Pearl. Tomorrow will be better." And gradually, it was. With the support of my therapy group, new friends like Eleanor, and my own determination, I began rebuilding my sense of self-worth. I learned that setting boundaries was not selfish, but necessary, that respect was not optional in healthy relationships, and that my value as a person was not dependent on how much I sacrificed for others. My new condominium became a sanctuary decorated exactly as I pleased, without worrying about anyone else's opinions. The walls that had once been beige were now painted in cheerful yellows and soothing blues. Artwork I had created in my painting classes hung proudly in the living room. Fresh flowers, once an occasional luxury, became a weekly indulgence. I continued volunteering at the youth center, finding profound satisfaction in helping children learn and grow. One afternoon, a mother approached me after a tutoring session with her son. "Ms. Pearl," she said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Jamie has improved so much since you started working with him. His teacher says his reading has jumped 2 grade levels." Such moments reminded me that I still had value to offer the world, that my worth was not defined solely by my role as a mother or grandmother. Adam and I settled into a new rhythm of relationship. He called regularly, not out of obligation, but with genuine interest in my life. Our conversations became more balanced, with him asking about my activities and listening attentively to my responses, rather than dominating with talk of his own concerns. "I signed up for a photography class," I told him during one call. "That's great, Mom," he replied with authentic enthusiasm. "You always had a good eye for composition. Remember how you used to arrange us for family photos?" These small acknowledgments of our shared history, offered freely rather than extracted reluctantly, helped heal old wounds. Jessica remained more distant, but the open hostility had subsided. We had reached a détente of sorts based on mutual recognition that Adam and the children wanted both of us in their lives. She would never be the daughter-in-law I had hoped for, but we had found a way to coexist without constant tension. The most rewarding aspect of this difficult journey has been the deeper relationship I've developed with my grandchildren. Without the filter of Jessica's subtle disapproval, Tyler and Amanda have flourished in their connection with me. Our special outings have become treasured traditions, times when they can share their thoughts and dreams freely. During one of our museum visits, Tyler confided in me about his struggle with math. "Dad gets frustrated when I don't understand right away," he admitted. "He says it should be easy for me because he was always good at math." "Everyone learns differently," I assured him, drawing on my years of teaching experience. "Your father was indeed good at math, but he struggled with reading comprehension." I spent many hours helping him work through his English assignments. Tyler looked at me with surprise. "Really? Dad never told me that." "We all have different strengths, Tyler. The important thing is to keep trying and ask for help when you need it." The following week, Adam called me. "Tyler asked me to tell him about my trouble with reading when I was his age," he said, sounding puzzled. "I didn't realize you had talked about that." "He needed to know that it's okay to struggle sometimes," I explained, "that even his father wasn't perfect at everything." "You're right," Adam acknowledged after a thoughtful pause. "I should have told him that myself." Such moments of connection and understanding have gradually rebuilt the bridge between us, one plank at a time. The education trusts I established for the grandchildren have been supplemented by Adam's own contributions, a tangible sign of his commitment to their future. He has also begun repaying the money he had taken from my accounts, insisting on adding interest, even when I said it wasn't necessary. "It's not just about the money, Mom," he explained. "It's about acknowledging what happened and making it right." Perhaps the most profound change has been within me, I no longer define my worth by how much I can give or sacrifice. I have learned to receive as well as give, to express my needs clearly, rather than hoping others will intuitively understand, and to walk away from relationships that do not honor my dignity. The woman who stood alone and heartbroken in that airport terminal a year ago would not recognize the woman I am today, with my stylish haircut, colorful wardrobe, busy social calendar, and calm self-assurance. The painful experience that I thought would break me instead remade me stronger and wiser than before. Adam has grown too, developing a new awareness of how his actions affect others and a deeper appreciation for the sacrifices made on his behalf. During our most recent dinner together, he said something that touched me deeply. "I've been thinking about the kind of example I've been setting for Tyler and Amanda," he admitted. "If they saw how I treated you, what lesson were they learning about respecting parents and grandparents, about gratitude, about family?" That level of self-reflection would have been impossible for the entitled man who abandoned me at the airport. It gave me hope that the values I had tried to instill were finally taking root. Family relationships are complex and ever-evolving. Ours remains a work in progress with occasional setbacks and misunderstandings. But the foundation has shifted from enabling to mutual respect, from taking for granted to genuine appreciation. We are learning, all of us, what it means to be truly family. If my experience offers any wisdom to share it, is this: love does not require doormat status. Setting boundaries is not selfish, but essential for healthy relationships. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for others is to demand the respect you deserve, even when it feels terrifying to do so. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? How did you find the courage to stand up for yourself? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories of transformation and growth. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, it is never too late to reclaim your dignity and write a new chapter in your story.